Welcome to another episode of Thick Slices and Deep Cuts. Today I'll be ranking the albums of the legendary thrash band KREATOR, one of my favorite bands of all time. My personal, the big four thrash for me is Slayer, Testament, KREATOR, and Sepultura. Today I'll be ranking their first 6 albums, so this is what I call the noise years. They were on Noise Records for these 6 albums. They have plenty of awesome albums, and I'll talk about their legacy beyond, being on the Noise label. But just for purposes of this episode, I'm going to focus on the first 6 albums. The first one came out in '85, the last one coming out in '92. They had plenty of stuff in between there. I had to wear my KREATOR t-shirt. I was thinking about hanging it up, but ultimately I didn't know what to put up, so I had these 3 cassettes from when I was a kid. So I don't know if you can see those or not, but I got the J cards for the cassettes up. I kind of like doing the low budget stuff because I think it fits with the theme here. Anyway, let's see a little bit about KREATOR. In case you don't know, they're out of Germany, West Germany. Millie Petroza and company. He is the guitarist and vocalist. I forget his real name, but Ventor is on drums. He's been on drums for all but one album. This particular lineup, they had Rob Fioretti on bass for all of these albums. And they had, sometimes they were just a 3-piece, sometimes they had different second guitar players and things like that. But just an awesome band, super heavy. One of the early thrash bands. They're still going strong. I don't know what else to say. They're awesome. So, without further ado, let's get into it. They got 6 albums on Noise Records. They're the first 6 of their career. Here we go. Coming in at number 6, an awesome album, a classic. I think it just experienced its 35-year anniversary. I'm going with their debut from '85. I'm going with Endless Pain. This album is early thrash. It's got, the pacing of the thrash beats on this is a little not as hyper speed as it would be later on, but this is cool in that it's so raw. These guys are like 17 years old when they did this, 18 at most. 17 or 18 years old when they did this album. Also, Ventor, the drummer, he does vocals on all the odd-numbered songs. So there are 10 tracks, he does all the odd-numbered songs, and Millie does vocals on all the even-numbered songs. So the first thing you ever hear from KREATOR has Ventor on vocals. That's the title track, Endless Pain. I think the classics on here would be what, Tormentor. Flag of Hate is on here. There's another version of Flag of Hate as well, but Flag of Hate is on this one. Bone Breaker, Dying Victims, Total Death. This is just old school. I guess we call it thrash. It was basically the most extreme music you could find at the time. This came out in '85, so they're influenced by, I'm guessing like Hellhammer, Celtic Frost, like Show No Mercy era Slayer, Kill 'Em All era Metallica, Venom, maybe Bathory, bands like that. So it's cool. It's just very old school. It's not as fast as things would get, but it's cool. It's so raw. And that's the charm of it. So coming in at number 6, their debut from '85, Endless Pain. Excellent album. Okay, coming in at number 5, the other bookend of this one from 1992, I have Renewal. So number 6 was their first one from this era. Number 5 is the last one from this era, their 6th album, Renewal. Great artwork. I got the t-shirt. There it is again. It's the same lineup as the first one with the addition of a second guitar player. That's let's see, he's not here. You can't really see, but Frank Gostzik or Frank Blackfire. They got him from Sodom, so he was on Agent Orange with Sodom. Probably some other things with them, but anyway, they pulled Frank from Sodom, and he's in the band for a few albums, including Renewal. I dig this album. When it first came out, I was a bit disappointed because it was coming off a string of hyper thrash, aggressive, violent albums, and this is not. This is, there's a lot of an industrial influence on this. The guitar tone is completely different. So, you know, the guitar tone that we knew from the previous few albums is completely changed here in favor of like a more mids. You know, I'm not saying this came out in '92. I'm not saying it had anything to do with grunge or anything like that. I'm just saying the tone is just, it's raw in a different way. Like, you can hear it. It's just a raw mid-tone. Lots of industrial effects, a lot of experimentation on this. Even some ambient stuff. The last track, Depression Unrest, has some ambient things. There's even like a 1.5 minute instrumental that's just a strange ambient thing with industrial noises. Produced at Morris Sound Studios in Tampa with Jim and Tom Morris. You know, the song Renewal is cool. It's groovier, so it's more mid-paced and groovier. Winter Martyrium starts it off. He's not doing the sinister vocal anymore on here. He's doing a lot of shouty stuff. You know, Zero to None, Brain Seed, Karmic Wheel is a weird one. Again, industrial stuff. Europe After the Rain. This is what I would call the most experimental album of the Noise years. I've learned to enjoy it more and more as time's gone on. I do enjoy this album, but it is vastly different from the first 5 albums. And this was the beginning of like an experimental run of, I think, 4 albums in a row to finish out the '90s. This started it, and then I'll talk about the other ones later. But so coming in at number 5 from 1992, I have Renewal. Oh, and also this was the last album with Rob Fioretti on bass. He would leave the band after this. So he was their original bass player. So this is the last on Noise, the last with their original bass player. Renewal, number 5 from 1992. Okay. Okay, these top 4 are all what I would call number 1s. They're all classics. I would urge you to go out and buy all 4 of these if you haven't already, or if you do have them and you haven't heard them in a while. I would just encourage you to get these 4 out and, you know, listen to all 6 of these, but all 4 of these are classics. And I say that because my number 4 pick 2 days ago was my number 2. And then yesterday was my number 3, and it's my number 4. And it's a classic. I just, you know, I'm trying to figure out how to rank these. And so at number 4, from 1989, I have Extreme Aggression. This is the first thing I ever heard from them. This is a polished production. So for this, they must have gotten more backing from the label. They go to California, to LA, and they record with Randy Burns. You've got 9 songs on here, which are all just for high-speed thrash, are all polished. You can hear everything clearly. Everything's played tight. You know, Extreme Aggression's the title track. No Reason to Exist. Love Us or Hate Us. Stream of Consciousness. Some Pain Will Last. Betrayer. Don't Trust. Bringer of Torture, and Fatal Energy. So all 9 songs on here are classic. They're solid. It's got a little bit of everything. They're just getting better at their instruments. So I don't want to say there's like a progressive. It's just like there's a more technical edge. There's a little bit more detail in the songs. That said, there's also like that song is great. Sorry. Impossible to Cure. Love this song. Anyway, everything on here is great. It's almost like there's a little bit of a punkish attitude on here. It's definitely thrash. It's definitely tight. A little technical. It's cool. It's just one of those classic thrash albums where they dial in the drum tone, the guitar tone, the vocal style, and they just go for it for 9 tracks. And I dig all 9 tracks on this album. I'm just trying to figure out how to rank them. And I reach for this CD quite a bit when I listen to Creator, but I think I reach for it a little less than 3 others. But I feel like this is definitely a classic. So I think all 6 of these are worth owning for sure. I think the first 2 I ranked are very good and worth owning, but I just think this is like, they have 4 classics in my opinion, and this is one of the classics. And even though I ranked it 4th, like I said, I wanted to rank it number 2. So it doesn't really matter where I rank these last 4. These are all the top shelf Creator albums. So coming in at number 4, maybe I knock it down a peg because of the album cover. Like putting these guys on an album cover, putting your band on the cover of anything, I kind of am against. You know, unless it's Highway to Hell or something like that. But I don't know. But still, they have the cool logo. It's a cool like orange-red color in the background. But anyway, at number 4 from 1989, also distributed in the U.S. on Epic. So Noise, I guess, had an agreement with Epic Records for Creator anyway. So much better budget and production on here. So at number 4 from 1989, I have their 4th album. Right, their 4th album, Extreme Aggression. And this song, Betrayer, is from that album. Okay, coming in at number 3, and at one point I did have this at number 2. From 1986, an absolute classic. Pleasure to Kill. Look at the band on the back. They have this other guitar player, Wolf, but apparently he wasn't even on the album, and he wasn't even with the band for a show. So really, they're a 3-piece here. Anyway, this is their 2nd full length. They go to Berlin to record with Harris Johns. He's a hell of a engineer producer at this time, as he would do a few other albums from some noise bands, and also the death metal band Pestilence he did Consuming Impulse for. Anyway, he's able to dial in just, if you like heavy guitars, awesome drums, and just good heavy mix. Harris Johns brought it for him on this. So whereas on the debut Endless Pain was more that old school thrash pace where the thrashing isn't quite super fast, it is hyper fast on here. This album is, I'm starting to wonder why this wasn't maybe 2 or 1, because I reach for this album quite a bit, and it's an absolute gem. This is 1986. They call this thrash. I don't disagree that it's thrash, but it's so heavy and violent. It's the heaviest album they've ever done. And this is heavier than death metal. This is just what I would call, when people say they like raw, heavy music, this is the epitome of how you can do something so raw and make it so work in your favor so well. Having a low production, not playing everything super perfect, not recording to a click track and moving the snare and the kicks to right on the grids, and not retaking your guitar solo, and just, you know, all those things. I think this is a perfect example of where you keep it as raw as you can and it still works, and that's the vibe, that's the charm of this album. It starts off with this introduction, Choir of the Damned. It sounds like melodic and, you know, heavenly, and then it just dives into Ripping Corpse. Death is Your Savior, which Ventor does the vocals on this. He's starting to get phased out on vocals, but he still does vocals on 3 of the songs here. Pleasure to Kill, the title track, is one of the greats. Riot of Violence with Ventor and vocals. The Pestilence is 7 minutes, but at this pace, I mean, it's like an epic. It's got so much going on. One of my favorites, Carrion. It's like a deep cut. I never see them play that live, but it's one of my favorite tracks on here. Command of the Blade with Ventor and vocals. And then it ends with Under the Guillotine, which is another classic. Everything on here is awesome. The other thing I love about this album is it's super fast, hyper thrash. So it's as fast as any thrashing you've heard at that point. Like, you know, people talk about Rain and Blood, and deservedly so. Anything Dave Lombardo thrashes on after Show No Mercy is super fast. Well, it's super fast on here too. And dare I say, this is the heaviest thing ever recorded up to this point. I think this might be heavier than Rain and Blood, but it's Europe's answer to Rain and Blood. Same year, same genre. But the thing I love is everything is violent and super hyper thrashing, and yet every song has like a memorable breakdown in the middle of the song. Whether it's Pleasure to Kill as a memorable breakdown, or The Pestilence of Carrion, or Under the Guillotine, any of these songs, there's always this classic breakdown in the middle. It must have, the pits and the crowds, they must have, you get your pit in a frenzy over the violent thrashing, and then you go into those breakdown heavy ass grooves, and then you pick it back into violent thrash. It must have been something else. Anyway, coming in at number 3, but an absolute, go out and get this. One of the great albums of all time. Pleasure to Kill, their heaviest album. Okay. Coming in at number 2, from 87, their third album, I have Terrible Certainty. So on this one, they go to a studio owned by the guy, the progressive guy, I forget his name, but he is the head of the band Eloy, a progressive rock band from Germany. They go there and they bring in Roy Rowland from England. He comes in and he cleans up their sound. For being raw, everything's clear, crystal clear and clean. And every song on here is great. And it's still part of, this is the last of what I would call their early raw days. Like Endless Pain was super raw. Pleasure to Kill was violently raw. And this is the clean, this is the last of their early underground albums. Blind Faith, Storming, which we heard earlier, Storming with Menace, the title track Terrible Certainty, As the World Burns, the last song that Ventura ever did vocals on. Toxic Trace is the big long one. No Escape, One of Us, Behind the Mirror is a great way to end it. Just, you know, everything on here is just well written. It's technical. It's almost like progressive thrash. Just everything's well thought out. They're obviously getting much better at their instruments. They bring in this guitar player. He was on Extreme Aggression too. Is it Treats? But he was their guitar player for a couple of albums. And also, Out of the Dark Into the Light is there. Yeah, this EP that came out in '88, which Harris Johns did the recording for that too. It's on here. Impossible to Cure. We heard a Raven cover, Lambs of the Slaughter, and then some live tracks. It's cool. Oh, and I forgot to mention on Pleasure to Kill, mine has the Flag of Hate EP, which has a re-recording of Flag of Hate, which is far superior from the Endless Pain one. It's faster thrashing. Take Their Lives, and Awakening of the Gods is a 7-minute song. It's really good. So, I'm a big fan of their early albums, especially these two. You know, before they started getting more polished production, there was a charm to those first 3 albums. So there you go. Coming in at number 2, just a classic. And I'm trying to get through these. I'm trying to speed it up because I can tell we're short on time. But coming in at number 2 for me, Terrible Certainty from '87. And so, coming in at number 1, Process of Elimination, 1990, Coma of Souls. So this is their first one with Frank from Sodom on guitars. Randy Burns, who did Extreme Aggression, produces this album. It's a great, well-produced, it's probably their most advanced album to this point. I mean, When the Sun Burns Red, it's just got all kinds of cool atmosphere, and they're doing things in the studio, recording-wise. The title track, which we're listening to, Coma of Souls, which has a cool breakdown, just like all their classic songs do. People of the Lie, they had a video for it on MTV. World Beyond is fast. Terror Zone is a classic that they play live. I always dug Agents of Brutality. Material World Paranoia. Twisted Urges is fast and heavy. Hidden Dictator's good. Mental Slavery. This has got to be their most progressive, technical, while still maintaining that fast thrashing too. It probably has the most like color to it. It's got the most creative color to it. So dig this. So coming in at number 1 for me from 1990, Coma of Souls. So real quick. Okay, coming in at number 6, their debut from '85, Endless Pain. Coming in at number 5, their 6th album and last on Noise from '92, I've got Renewal. At number 4, I have their 4th album from '89, Extreme Aggression. At number 3, their classic Violent album from '86, their 2nd album, Pleasure to Kill. Number 2, their 3rd album from '87, Terrible Certainty. And number 1 from 1990, I've got Coma of Souls. So there's ranking the albums of Creator from the Noise years, their first 6 albums, 85 to 92. And then also I do have this, Live Creation, the double live CD and the video. The video's cool. It also, the second disc has all their videos that they did, like Toxic Trace, Betrayer, People Who Lie, Renewal, Lost, Isolation, Leave This World Behind, Endorama, Chosen Few, Violent Revolution. So it covers, beyond this, it covers, they did an album, Cause for Conflict, so it's got a couple songs from that. Outcast in 97, they got Tommy Vetterly from Corner. When Corner disbanded, they got Tommy Vetterly for 2 albums, and he was on Outcast, which is, it's kind of experimental, kind of like Renewal, but it's still cool. And then they did Endorama, and I got some songs from that on here too. The video's got, I think, 19 songs. Well, the CD has 24 songs, so it's got quite a few more that didn't make it to the video, like Under the Guillotine, some of the older tracks, Leave This World Behind, Second Awakening. It's got lots from the Violent Revolution album from 2001, which kind of found them going back to their classic sound. I mean, the cover looks like Coma of Souls. So after Coma of Souls in 90, they did about 4 albums that I would call kind of experimental. And then once they got the Violent Revolution, they kind of went back to their sound. I feel bad I don't have more of their stuff, because even their experimental stuff from the 90s, I kind of like. And, you know, the album after Violent Revolution, Enemy of God is great, Hordes of Chaos is solid, Phantom Antichrist is solid, Gods of Violence. And they got a new video that came out this year, so it makes me think they got another album already, like, done, and they're just waiting to release it. So, you know, beyond the Noise years, the band is great. So, there you have it. That is ranking the early years of Creator, the Noise years. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.